Nick, we're gathered here today to answer or ask one very important question. Will Mario live to be 100 years old? I know it's a little morbid. I'm sorry, Mario. I hate to discuss this right in front of you, but it is an important question because as part of a recent Nintendo Museum book, they asked, as part of the 40th celebration, they asked Takeshi Tezuka and Shigeru Miyamoto, both who've been involved with Mario forever now, of course, since Mario's inception, what will it look like when Mario turns 100 years old? Like, what their outlook is on that. Will it happen? Like, what will things, what will that mean if that does? And Video Games Chronicle, thankfully, transcribed this. I'll link to it in the description below if people want to read it for themselves. But I thought this would be interesting to discuss because it is kind of an interesting question. Like, what will Mario survive to 100? And if he does, what does that look like? Now, before we get to that, actually, we'll let you speak real quick, Nick. Do you think he will? Will Mario make it?
Yeah, I think he's going to make it. Even if we're not around, like, to see the day of Mario hitting 100, I think this guy's going to be able to make it, along with his brother Luigi. They're going to hit 100 someday.
That makes Mario and Luigi very happy. It makes me a little depressed knowing that there's a very good chance I won't be around then.
Yeah.
Extremely good chance. And that's kind of like the sad thing about this is a lot of people who pretty much everyone who grew up and definitely helped create Mario, they won't be around to see it. And that's a little sad to think about. Again, very small chance I make it. Probably very unlikely, especially given my recent McDonald's habit. So I have to dial that back if I want a chance. Anyways, let's get to the comments themselves from Tezuka first. Let's see what he had to say. And again, this is thanks to Video Games Chronicle. So Tezuka had said, "One might think it will be a miracle if Mario is still here after 100 years, since we make things while not knowing when our players may get bored with them. If it's not fun to play, you'll get bored. And I'm always thinking of how to keep it so that something like that doesn't happen, so that people keep playing. Different times bring different kinds of fun. What Mario can do now is completely different from when we first started out. I wanted to continue making things people find fun to play, including the actions you do, but changing things little by little." And when you think about it, that really is the case. Continuing on, he continues, to be redundant, "Until just a little while ago, 2 generations, parents and children, were playing together. Now 3 can. I don't know if we'll get to 4, but we want to make something that can be played together for generations to come. I think it'd make me very happy if we can share that chance to experience Mario together with family and friends. We'll continue to make Mario games for a long time, so please look forward to them." So let's discuss those specific comments real quick before we get to Miyamoto. Nick, what's your initial take on that?
I think like the evolution of Mario is going to be, again, he's going to be different from where he was day 1 till 100, right? Like, people might not be interested in playing Super Mario Bros. When it first originally came out compared to playing whatever the new Mario game is when Mario turns 100, right? Like, times have changed and people do grow up, and gameplay styles might get a little, like, stale for some other players. I hate to say that, but, like, again, like, my taste for games are probably going to change over the years. Your tastes are going to change over the years, and especially the people that they're probably going to try to get into, like, the new market for Mario, right? So they really have to be thinking about that for the long run.
Yeah, well, like, we have a 4-die generation now, right? Will the 4-die generation's kids be interested in Mario still? Like, that's the question. And, we're still, the thing is, though, I think at this point, Mario has proven himself to be pretty darn timeless. Like, yeah, Nintendo's had their ups and downs, but they've managed to persist through all of that. And right now, like, history is on their side. Like, even with their dips, Nintendo always comes back stronger than ever. And that really, that almost is the bigger question, I think. Like, it's not less will Mario be around in 60 years, will Nintendo be around in 60 years? Because, like, they're directly connected, right? And if Mario doesn't make it, Nintendo's not making it either, right?
Yeah.
Like, Mario's the canary in the coal mine. If people stop buying Mario games, Nintendo's kind of screwed, I think. Pokemon could somehow outlast Nintendo, right? We won't get into how that might work. In any case, I think it is interesting how he mentions how Mario's been changing, little bit by little bit. And, to a degree, that is true, as I was commenting on. Because, you compare, like, Mario Odyssey, basically the latest Mario, to, his 8-bit origins, and while there is, still very clear connective tissue, like, it's almost, like, ridiculous how different the two are in a sense. Like, no one pictured playing Mario Brothers in 1985 that they would be, like, possessing weird creatures as Mario using a magic hat, 35 years later or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever thought, like, you'd be playing as the Goomba, right? Like, the goal was always to stomp on the Goomba, but now it's like, wait a minute, I am actually the Goomba.
I am the Goomba. Or being Bowser, like,
yeah,
I'm the villain
Bowser.
Now, right? I'm Mario as the villain. What's happening here? But at the same time, there are still the recognizable elements, of course. There's still Mario. He still looks basically the same, only in 3D. He still jumps as his primary means of input. And then if you want to if you want to take another look, too, they still have the 2D games going. And I think, if you showed someone in 1985, showed them Mario Wonder, they would, I still think, instantly peg it as a Mario game, right? Like, it looks better, obviously, and it has some weird crap going on, but I still think it's like, even in a gameplay sense, it's very clearly identifiably Mario. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Like, they would see the game and they'd be like, wait a minute, you can turn into an elephant? That's awesome. Like, why can't I do that in the 80s? It just doesn't make sense. But, like, going back to the point here, I think they've been future-proofing Mario for a very long time, right? Like, even in our lifespan with Mario, I don't think I ever saw the day of it coming that he would be actually on mobile devices, right? Like, I was telling my friends, I'm like, Nintendo's never going to touch mobile. Mario's always going to stay on a Nintendo platform. And what happened in, like, the 2010s? We got Mario Run. So I was like flabbergasted by that. I was like, no way this is actually happening. So again, I think they're really future-proofing him with trying to expand the demographic there. They're doing it with the theme parks. They're doing it with the movies. So again, like, I really think that they're going to be able to hit 100 with expanding to all these different demographics.
And that might be a perfect segue into Miyamoto's comments, who touches on that a little bit. So here's what Miyamoto said, of course, the father of Mario, in case people didn't know that, but I just want to iterate it, but it is an important thing to, draw attention to. Miyamoto says, it's a given that Super Mario will constantly evolve by incorporating new digital technology. Now we're working in visual fields like movies, but want to make sure we keep it interactive and digital. As long as we don't forget Mario's prime point, running and jumping, as we add new things, I think Mario will be with us for a long time to come. He continues, Nintendo takes on unique challenges, and if a new technology is interesting, I believe that by incorporating that technology, we can make that fun expand and grow like rolling up snow for a snowman. So hope that you'll continue to stick with us. Interesting to say Katamari, like,
Yeah.
Anyways, no, and that's exactly, I think that speaks to your point, like, to what we've been saying. For one, Mario still does the same thing he's always been doing. He runs and he jumps. He just layer on new things on top of that. Furthermore, they've been embracing new technology. Like, it wasn't, like, up until they announced making smartphone games, it seemed like an impossible thing. Like, why would they ever support a platform that they're not in control of? And yet, here we are. Granted, they were kind of forced to because of the failure of the Wii U at the time. But it shows how Nintendo is, like, for as stuck in their ways as they can be, they're also nimble when they have to be, right? And they aren't afraid of changing things up. And that's also why we're seeing all these other things, too, like theme parks and movies, as you mentioned, which Miyamoto also touched on. And I think, we're just at the beginning of them, like, kind of really fully broadening out, Mario as an IP and other, their other IP as well. But, I think it all feeds back again into Mario. Like, the stronger Nintendo is, the stronger Mario is going to be, and vice versa. That's just how it goes. Like, you can't have one without the other. And, I think given their current trajectory, like, taking all things together, like, I have no reason to think at this point that Mario won't make it to 100. At the same time, that is a long time from now. That is 60 years from now, going from Super Mario Brothers. Technically, Mario's a little bit older because of Donkey Kong, but whatever. 60 years from now, a lot can change in that time. Again, I'll probably be dead by that point. You might still be around.
I might be like 90 years old at the time, so, like, I might be like, yeah, I'm celebrating Mario's 100th.
Right, yeah, exactly. And but and it'll be full on leadership changes, but obviously well before that point. Like, within the next decade, we're going, sadly, all the original creators have either retired or otherwise, and meaning that it'll be, like, basically a full, people who weren't involved with Mario's original creation will be running the company, developing these games. But Nintendo has also done this, seemingly so far done a great job of handing, of building up the next generation of, developers and leadership. And we hopefully won't run into an issue where people lose sight of what Mario is. And I think that might speak to also how some other characters have, like, endured for, a similar amount of time by this point. I think, Nick, you had some thoughts on that, right?
Yeah, so, we're celebrating, I want to say, what is it, the 45th anniversary for Pac-Man, which is crazy to think about, because when you think of Pac-Man, I know, like, Pac-Man has had 3D games, but majority of the time when you think of Pac-Man, you think of the arcade game, right? Like, and arcades have not really been a thing for the past, 20 or 30 years, so Pac-Man's still hanging around. And on top of that, like, Sonic as well. Sonic came out, 1991, I want to say? So Sonic's been around for a very long time, and I joined the Sonic fan base with Sonic Adventure 1, so, like, I was there at a good time. I went through the 2000s and the 2010s, and Sonic was a roller coaster ride until, like, the 2020s. And again, like, when I'm out places and I see, like, kids with backpacks on, I still see them wearing, like, Sonic merchandise, and I always get, like, a smile on my face. I'm like, oh my god, Sonic's still relevant to, like, a younger generation. So it's good to see characters like that still have somewhat of an expansion or growth to them, even though they've been around for, like, 30, 40 years. So again, to see Mario hit 100, I think it's definitely possible, especially with when you look at the lineup of games that Mario gets, especially, like, the 3D ones or the 2D ones. Like, the last one we got was Mario Odyssey for 3D, and that was 8 years ago. So if that's going to be the case, like, the next Mario 3D game is, like, what, by year 100 of Mario, we might have, what, like 6 or 7 at that rate, maybe 8 or 9. So again, like, I can totally see him sticking out to that very time.
That's a good point. If Sonic can make it, what, 35 or whatever he is?
Yeah.
Now, like, there's no way Mario doesn't make it past, to 100, right? I feel like if Sonic can endure through all the crap he's been through, Mario can definitely make it. But again, 60 years is a really long time, and it reminded me of something. What's interesting is that, it's easy to forget. For the vast period of time Nintendo's existed so far, they weren't even a video game company.
Yeah.
They're well over 100 years at this point, and the video games are still relatively recent development for them. But what's interesting is if Mario does make it to 100, by that point they would predominantly or majority of the time been a video game developer by that point. Only by a few years, granted, but that would be the turning point for them, and that's kind of a fun thing to think about. Like, that's when over half Nintendo would have been dedicated to video games, assuming they retain that perspective of them. And given how Nintendo's been running up until now, and given the comments by Tezuka and Miyamoto, they have no intention of changing that. If anything, they're just planning on broadening, like expanding where Mario appears, but they want to keep that interactive core. Like, that is a core to Mario, that he will always be interactive in some way. And seeing as how they maintain that still with 2D and 3D games for 40 years at this point, there's no reason to think that's going to change anytime soon.
And like, we keep like harking up on like the broadening the demographic for Mario. Again, like, just recently we saw Microsoft bring in Master Chief Halo to PlayStation. Like, what year do we hit where Nintendo brings Mario over to, like, say, a PlayStation or PC? Like, are we going to see that in our lifetime? Is that going to be something that they wait until like year 100 for Mario? It's like, hey, we're finally bringing Mario everywhere. It's like, well, why are you doing this now? It just doesn't make sense. Like, maybe that's what they need to kind of get that audience or grow even more with Mario.
It's funny you say that, but I don't think PlayStation is going anywhere, but I don't think there's a world in which Nintendo stops making hardware before PlayStation does.
I agree.
So yeah, if Nintendo needs to put Mario somewhere and if PlayStation's still around somehow, PlayStation's gonna be in major trouble at that point as well, I would think. In any case, yeah, PC, of course, mobile devices, who knows what. But yeah, like, if Nintendo for whatever reason can't ever make their own hardware, then they could go third party like Sega did, and and the future I would envision is that if Nintendo ever ends up in a situation where they're not making their own hardware primarily, then that means there's just no more console market. Like, it's purely everything's open. It's either on mobile devices or PC or
PCs,
whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Something else I'm thinking of is Mario's not the only. There is a history of characters that are near or over 100 years old. One of the biggest ones right now, another giant mascot, is Mickey Mouse. He is at 97 years old. I think we all think he'll be around in 3 years. and that's actually was some pretty, like, neglectful periods there. Like, Disney they've never made a full-on Mickey Mouse feature. He hasn't really had much in the way of shorts. The most recent thing they've done, which I think is one of the best things they've done recently, is they opened up a ride at Disneyland and Disney World being, you probably knew. You were just on it, weren't you?
Mickey Mini Runaway Railroad.
Runaway
right?
Railroad, gotcha.
Yep.
And did you go on it when you were at Disney World?
Yeah, I did. I really do enjoy it. Yeah,
it's a cute ride. It's a really cute ride, and it shows like, and I guess they did have that more recent cartoon as well. I did forget about that. But for the decades before that, they weren't doing a whole lot with Mickey, and yet everyone knew who he was. So that's another reason why Mario will always be around. He's Nintendo's mascot. Like, there's no way he's going anywhere unless Nintendo completely flounders. And yeah, I think if Mickey can make it to 100, I think Mario can make it to 100. It's another point in his favor. And there's other characters too. I think isn't Popeye like pretty old now too?
I think
Betty
Popeye is
Boop?
probably exactly. Like, these characters that, like, I don't initially recognize, but you say them, it's like, oh yeah, they've been around since the dawn of time, as long as you can think of, right?
I mean, yeah, even these characters that aren't even that relevant, like, what's Betty Boop been in recently? But most people still, or a lot of people still know it. Maybe the younger generation doesn't at this point, but you and I still know it, and I feel like it wouldn't take much to, so I think there's almost like a what's what I'm looking for, like a threshold. Like, once you pass it, you're pretty much locked in at that point. And that's where Mario's at himself. Like, even if they, for whatever reason, stop making Mario games for a couple of decades, people will still recognize him. Like, he may not be at the forefront of everyone's mind, but like Mario, like, that's the thing. Like, I can't picture Mario going anywhere. Like, it's at the point where it's weird for me to think. This is a weird thought, but like, I've had it recently. I'm like, oh yeah, there was a period of time where Mario just didn't exist. Like, I've been watching a show called Halt and Catch Fire recently. It takes place in the early '80s. I'm like, Mario didn't really exist at this period of time outside of Donkey Kong. That's kind of weird to think about. Like, something that we can't envision not existing today. There was generations or, thousands and thousands of years, for human civilization, let's say, where he didn't exist, and it's just kind of funny to think about. But that's just how much of a prominent figure he is now, that it's weird to think about that he didn't exist for most of history.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As long as they're able to sell merchandise for this character, I think the character is going to be around for a very long time. And the same thing, like the point you made about Mickey Mouse, right? Like, even though they weren't really expanding into like movies per se or TV shows with Mickey Mouse, they have that ride at one point. It's like they're still selling Mickey Mouse on T-shirts, on hats,
exactly,
on cards, on whatever you can think of. Like, they're still selling that. So the character is still in what the culture zeitgeist. And that's the thing. Right. Like, if you walked up to anyone and you say name a video game character, what are they going to say? Probably like 80% of the time, they're probably going to say Mario, right? Exactly. Like, that's who they're going to say. Like, you talk to anyone, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's Mario. You show them a picture, they can easily recognize who the character is.
Oh yeah, even people who don't care about video games like Mario, right? And yeah, that's exactly it. And it's funny you mentioned the merchandise angle, because there's always been Mario merchandise. But again, it kind of speaks into, it really kind of feels like only recently, relatively recently, Nintendo's really been taking it seriously on broadening their IP reach, either through movies, theme parks, iPhone games, and even merchandise as well. But I still think, actually, no, I guess I would say that it's been even more recently where I started seeing more Mario merchandise. Like, I'm seeing kids, wearing like Mario backpacks or shirts or whatever. Like, you go anywhere, like, and you'll see a kid wearing a Mario shirt. And I don't think that's always been the case, at least as commonly as it is now. Like, I wore a Mario shirt as a kid, don't get me wrong, but I was also a hardcore Mario fan. I think that's even more the case now where, and more to my point, it's not just kids. Like, I've seen adults wearing, like, Mario shirts. And that speaks to the comments of, was it Tezuka or Miyamoto talking about how, like, Tezuka, there will soon be 4 generations of people who are all familiar with this character and have an affinity for that character. And that's actually really cool, I think. And I think, he was questioning whether it would happen, like, I think, playing a little bit coy on, or not coy, but like being modest on that. But yeah, of course Mario's gonna reach 4 generations, no question about it, And that's really cool that there is like this common touch point that we all will have essentially, through video games, and that's kind of magical.
Yeah, and going back to like what you said about the merchandise, I know we brought it up a couple times already. Like, as a kid, like, I don't know about you, but as a kid, I felt like Mario merchandise was like very few and far between. Like, I had the plushies. Every once in a while, I would go into like a Toys R Us or something, or KB Toys, and I would pick up a figure or something. Like, oh my god, I can't believe they actually made this. I would be blown away. But now I feel like, again, like you see these kids like with the backpacks or the T-shirts or the hats or whatever. Like, there's so much Mario out there that it's like it will be hard to picture a world without Mario now.
That is such a good point. Like, the thing is, like, as a kid, whenever you encountered Mario merchandise in the store, it felt kind of like a rare event. Like, it
felt so rare.
Yeah, like, I mean, it wasn't like, shiny rare, but it wasn't nearly common enough that, like, I mean, it always stood out to me. I'm like, oh mom, I gotta get this thing, but they don't exist. I never see them anywhere, But now you walk into like a grocery store, they have Mario merch for some reason, right? Like, you can find Mario, children's books, or Mario, like Mario plushes everywhere now, and it's like it stands out more when they don't have that stuff at this point. And I think that's only going to continue to increase, at least for the short term. Now, again, long term, who's to say? Like, 60 years is 20 years more than Mario's even exist, or is 20 years more than Mario's even existed at this point. Again, excluding Donkey Kong. I know people always mention that whenever people don't clarify that point, but obviously Mario wasn't commonly well known really until Super Mario Brothers. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see, like, what else may happen from here. Like, there's still other areas they can expand into. Of course, even more movies, broadening the theme park reach. But I'm thinking more specifically, like, shows. Like, shows are, actually, that's kind of interesting to think. Those were a big thing in the 80s, early 90s. But Nintendo's kind of stepped away from that outside of, maybe Kirby and the Pokemon anime, of course. But beyond that, Mario hasn't had a new cartoon in forever. And that's an area Sonic is actually much more on top of. And I wonder if maybe there'll be, sometime in the coming decades, if Nintendo will take another look at that. Like, yeah, maybe we should have a Mario show or Mario cartoon.
Yeah, I think that is another easy direction they can go in. And like you said, you bring up Sonic. I mean, growing up as a kid, like, I had Sonic X on, what was it, like Fox Kids or whatever, and then even before that, there was a few Sonic TV shows in the 90s, I believe, and same thing with Mario. And then for a long period, there was just nothing for Mario, so it is very shocking they haven't found a partner in like Amazon or Netflix or Apple to maybe do like their own exclusive like TV show. But again, maybe they're saving that off because they want to do like more shorts. just like what they did with the Pikmin stuff
Pikmin,
recently. But again, yeah, like they have so many other areas that they can expand Mario in the next like 60 years.
I mean, even touched on one right there with that shorts and that new Nintendo. What's it called? Nintendo Pictures Company.
Nintendo Pictures.
Yeah. And so we're just seeing, again, them starting to take their first steps utilizing that company fully, and who knows what's going to come of it. So, yeah, what could be, I mean, I think there's a possibility that the next 40 years of Mario is even more interesting than the first 40 years. You know, maybe it won't be. Who's to say? I will at least hopefully see the next 40. Anything beyond that is a dice roll every year after. Who knows? In any case, Nick, any final thoughts on the possibility of Mario turning 100 and what he may look like at that point?
I mean, if he is running and jumping, or I guess I should say, if Sonic's able to run and fumble over all these obstacles and still survive
right.
as the hedgehog he is, I have no doubt in my mind that Mario is able to run and jump higher than Sonic has ever reached, which is crazy to think about. Again, I saw Sonic's highs and lows, so if Sonic can do it, Mario can do it tenfold. So I have no doubt in my mind. Again, what it looks like, what the next 3D Mario game looks like in 30 or 40 years, I have no idea what that's going to look like. Is Mario going to have a gun? I mean, he did it in some degree in Mario and Rabbids, right? They gave him the blasters. Like, if they want to go over that, or they want to focus on that Fortnite crowd, maybe they do make him more intense. Or hell, maybe they even put him in Fortnite at one point. Again, like, the landscape's going to be so different in the next 40 or 60 years.
That's another great point. That's something Nintendo has been historically very afraid of, putting their characters in any platform they don't have control of, any other game. Even though we've seen concessions from other companies that you would think would have had that same issue. Look at Disney; they're throwing their characters into Fortnite, including like Jack Skellington.
Yeah,
and he's like carrying a gun, and I think I guarantee you at some point in the next 60 years we'll see Nintendo relent on that to some degree. Whether it's in Fortnite or something else, who's to say? I mean, I think it's a bigger question if Fortnite's around in 60 years, right? Mario outlast Fortnite, I think, but
to that extent, I mean, they technically have worked with Epic Games because they worked with them with Psyonix, who is now owned by Epic Games, and they did have the Mario and Luigi kart in Rocket League on the Switch. So again, there is some precedent there that they could potentially work with them and angle to some degree to put Mario and Luigi in Fortnite. Again, will that be the case? I don't know. Maybe in 40 years where it's like they hit every angle, they've done everything with Mario. It's like, okay, we got to bring him to this game. We got to bring the other games now.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see just how different Mario looks, or maybe how undifferent he looks, how similar he may still look. Because, I mean, look at Mario Odyssey again. Very weird, very different, and extremely awesome, but at the same time, it still shares the same characteristics Mario's always been known for, being running and jumping and great platforming action. And it does make me wonder, like, what does the 3D Mario 40 years from now look like, right? Or even 20 years, or even 10 years. What's the next one look like? We don't know! And that's always the exciting thing, and, they almost always deliver in that respect, and I'm excited to see if they can maintain that once, it's fully under new leadership.
One thing I know for sure is we'll be buying Super Mario Bros. For the 20th time in the year 89, and we're going to be buying Galaxy 1 and 2 again for the 7th or 8th time again. That's one thing you can count on. That's going to be a for sure thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they'll be announcing the Galaxy HD recollection at that point, and everyone will eat it up, of course, as we always do. So, yeah. All right, Nick, any final thoughts, or is that it for us?
I think that's it. Yeah, I'm excited to see Mario's future.
Same here. I'm excited to see how far into Mario's future I live to see, but should be fun times ahead, and Nintendo's done a great job so far, by and large, of maintaining Mario's iconic status. I suspect that'll continue, but again, 60 years is a long time, and anything can happen. It wasn't all that long ago that people were, you always had those cycles. Nintendo's doomed, but Nintendo always lives through it. Maybe one of the times they'll be right, but for now, the evidence is against that happening. So. We'll see. But with that, everyone, let us know in the comments below what you think of Mario's 100th. Do you have any thoughts on Tezuka's and Miyamoto's comments? And what do you think yourself will happen by Mario's 100th? I would love to hear your thoughts. With that, thanks for watching. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.